Paul Friedrich Richter once said that music is the poetry of air. The sense of hearing is stimulated and the other senses restricted. Such situation is physically evident with the musicians who are visually impaired. Jericho, age 31, and Vivian, age 37, are blind musicians who share their music around the streets of UP Manila. They do this for a living, hoping that a stranger would drop by and put some money on the donation box. Vivian stated, "We earn little with this work, but we have no choice." Whatever the cause, many cultures have traditions of blind people in music. In ancient China, the court musician job was reserved for the blind. From the late 12th to the mid-14th centuries, blind lute players traveled throughout Japan, which eventually evolved into a more recent school of blind koto players. Well into the 20th century, the job of musician in the Ukraine was usually given to the blind as a form of welfare. And in America, blind African Americans have long turned to music to overcome the double whammy of discrimination against them. According to the NSO, as of 2010, 17.5% of the population is either completely or partially blind. There are no specific statistics on how many blind people are unemployed. However, most blind people are self-employed or are employed by organizations. Little percentage of their population has acquired a mainstream profession. Blind musicians like Stevie Wonder, Andrea Bocelli,
Sì, lo so che non c'è luce in una stanza quando manca il sole.
Ray Charles Robinson, and locally, Chris Cerna, have made it through the music industry. The real question is, if they made it, why can others follow? According to Dr. Samuel Johnson, prejudice is intolerance or discrimination against a person or group that leads people to think that a blind person will always be less effective than his sighted counterpart. Prejudice dictates that a blind person must have luck, not rights, to find an employer who will decide that they will take a chance. Watson stated that disabled people have an identity imposed upon them. It does not matter what they do, what their job is, or what they say. What's important in the eyes of many is the fact that they are disabled. Fazlet Hadi, Director of Policy and Advocacy at the Royal National Institute of Blind People, said that a lot of employers take the stereotypical view that if you have a visual impairment, you can only be a telephonist or a worker in a factory. But I think they need to turn that opinion on its head, and the question they should be asking themselves, think of a job which a visually impaired person cannot do.
Bong! Bong. Bong siya. Bong.
Kayo po.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yun po. Tatanong ko lang po kasi po yung meron pong bulag na kumakatakbo sa kabilang kalsada. Ano po bang feelings niyo towards sa kanila? Nalulungkot po ba kayo? Masaya? Paano sa kanila? Kumikita po sila ng
Kasi
pera?
ngayon, siyempre natural na yung malungkot, natural na rin masaya, kaya neutral lang tayo. Diba? Neutral lang.
Sige.
Ha? Ako? Okay lang. Masaya lang, pag table na rin. Isa maganda yung kanta niya. Minsan putol-putol na pero okay lang din. Nakakabuhay din ng mga memorable na music.
Matagal na po ba sila dito? Napapansin niyo na po sila?
Siguro mga 8 months meron na sila rin.
Nakipag-usap po kayo kaya?
Oo naman. Yung lalaki pagtitigan, ma'am. Oo, yan. Sila.
Nag-usap po kayo lagi?
Ngayon, hindi. Kahapon nag-usap naman.
Ano pong pangalan?
Jerry po. Yung bulag ay lalaki. Tapos yung babae, ang address niya, Aisha, pero talaga ang niya, Vivian. Vivian talaga ang pangalan.
Pagkatapos ito, diba, dumadaan ka dito, so nakikita mo yung mga tumututudo na may kapansanan. Ano nararamdaman mo kung nakikita mo sila? First thing po na nararamdaman ko yung awa. Automatic naman po yun Kasi different sila sa atin, may kapansanan. Kaya naawa po ako, pero kahit na gano'n, namamangha po ko kasi sa kapansanan nila, talisay po sa kapansanan nila. Meron po silang talent katulad ng pagkanta. Maganda po yung post Kaya parang pinagkaloob po ng Diyos na bigyan sila ng talent ng music. Bakit po kayo napahinto? Ano po bang nakita na narinig?
Hindi, kasi parang nalo kami sa nila. Tapos, siyempre nga, may kapansanan sila. Magaling yung boses nila. Parang nalo ko sa kanila. Then, okay naman yung nila, trabaho nila. Diyan sila kumikita sa makapagpaano ng tao.
So, pagkadating yung mga dito, nandito na po sila na kumakanta po. Ano naman po masasabi niyo sa kanila?
Mabait naman sila. Nakakatulong dito. Pag nandiyan sila.
Nakakatulong po ba yung mga tugtog nila ma'am? Parang nakaka-relax?
Opo, nakakatulong naman.
Sa tingin niyo naman po ma'am sa mga, ano po yung tingin ng mga dumadaan sa kanila ma'am? Parang
Nakakawa sila minsan. Yung iba nagugulo, yung iba titigil lang. Parang nabibigahan sila sa boses nila.
maganda raw.
Opo.
Magandang ano.
Various people have expressed different types of reactions towards Vivian and Jericho's way of life. Some have expressed amusement, others fondness, and some pity. The stark contrasting differences in their views are unavoidable. This is due, in part, to the inherent variations and disparities present in their virtues, and those external factors such as environment and upbringing, which led to their acquisition of the said beliefs. Ultimately, no one belief can be said to be the most authentic. All perspectives are merely fragments of the reality. As an individual passes by the street, he is arrested by a melody coming from an old battered boombox. These are not the sounds of mainstream music. These are the sounds of the unsung musicians, the blind street musicians.